The Antarctic is really very special. The landscapes across the region do away with the need for imagination. They just suck out everything. They're so beautiful, so captivating and so interesting that you have to take your imagination and set it aside because your whole mental capacity is being used up by what's in front of you. My name is Steven Chown, and currently I direct a large Australian Research Council special research initiative known as Securing Antarctica's Environmental Future. One of the areas that we haven't been into, that we said we would go into, is marine birdland. My two main areas of work have been, one is understanding the distribution of biodiversity and how it responds to change. But if you think about how biodiversity is distributed, how animals and plants are distributed across the planet, then one of the things is that they respond to temperature. There are places that are too hot for animals, places that are too cold. And often we've studied that just on a little micro scale, looking at flies in a forest, for example. What I had thought of doing many years ago now was, what if we just magnify that across the whole planet? Turns out that from the tropics to close to the poles, animals have quite similar heat resistance, which means that when climates change, tropical organisms face more stress than polar ones, just from heat. So that's really what macrophysiology is. It's physiology, which is how we function and work over really large scales.
We might just shift it over.
Macrophysiology is something that really could only be done once we entered the computer generation. It pulls in all the past information from science, from physiological experiments globally, and then reuses the information, mindful that different techniques may give you slightly different answers. And then you can test it by going to places and say, places that have never been visited, and say, this is the prediction, does that prediction hold up?
Hello, I'm Steven Chown.
The Antarctic always seems distant, but in a sense it's right up against us, especially in Australia. The 2019-2020 bushfires were a very, very substantial indication of that, because Antarctica's weather played a role in making those quite extreme. In building our research about the Antarctic, it's sort of 99% covered by ice. And we suggested that some key spots on the Antarctic Peninsula would really be easy places for some invasive species to establish. And our modeling was quite accurate. And that for us was a great verification of the approach we'd used and the importance of the problem to those looking after the Antarctic environment for us. I've always had a deep admiration for Susan Corey, having seen her work from a distance, and that makes me immensely pleased to be receiving a medal that's named for her work. And there's nothing more rewarding than to be recognized by your peers and your community. It makes everything we do worthwhile.